I want to talk to you about becoming good at letting go of clothes. This is not one that I'm great at. I don't think if I look back at our family, um, I think it's one of those things that we do tend to hold on to things. So, how can we become better and maybe more confident at letting go of clothing? So, let me know in the comments below. What is it for you? Do you struggle to know what to let go of? Do you think actually maybe this is going to come in handy? Maybe I'm going to fit back into it. There's so many reasons that actually we end up having loads of clothes. And I suppose part of the question is, well, why is that a bad thing? Why is it bad to own too many clothing? And from my experience, what I've seen is that when we hold on to a lot of stuff, it really starts to chip away at that sense of, I know what to wear, or I know how to put things together. We can start to feel really tired and overwhelmed with the amount of stuff, and it can really start to chip away at our style confidence. And what has kind of prompted me to talk about this today is I was actually in the papers. Yeah, end of last week. This is the wonderful Emma, who we hopefully doing more articles with. And Emma is got so many clothes. She's surrounded by clothing, like a whole room with rails, and she really is holding on to things that she's had for a long time. And so when we spoke, I kind of shared how to become better at letting go. And I think the first thing is to really get clear on why you're doing this. So often, and especially if you're somebody that has a little bit of a rebel spirit like myself, if somebody's telling you that you should be doing it, it's not enough to kind of want to do it. You end up starting to kind of almost like justify, well, I want to keep hold of this because of that. And it's like, well, no, let's get clear on why you're even doing this. So I would really ask, and one of the things I was saying to Emma is start to think about, well, actually, this is stressful for me. So get a really strong why around you doing it. I don't want to be stressed in the mornings. I want to know what I've got. I know I've got clothes that I'm not wearing. I know I keep thinking I need to go shopping, but actually there's plenty already in the wardrobe. I know that there's things in there that maybe my friends, my sister, my daughter might enjoy, but it's not getting used. So nobody's enjoying it. It's just causing me stress. So that's the first thing, is to understand the why you're doing this. It's really important to identify that. So if you are somebody that struggles to let go of clothes, maybe your why isn't strong enough. The next thing is to really look at the excuses that you use. So um, I was saying to Emma that, often we're kind of there trying to make ourselves thinner, make ourselves younger, and actually we're blaming ourselves rather than the clothes. The clothes are there to help you shine. And if they're not doing that, then they're going to pull you down. And what's really interesting is when I work with my clients and the Star Wars consultations, which I am considering, I wonder if I need to rebrand them a bit into like discover yourself consultations or uncover yourself consultations. So let me know what you think about that. But part of it is really that when you start to know your words, so the lady that I worked with today, her words were stylish, clean, and individual. And I think mine are cool, elegant, impactful. When you start to know your words and you put an item on and you're like, well, this just makes me feel uncomfortable and frumpy, and that's your alarm words, that's not your style words, and you realize that it's holding you back. So that's another thing I would say, and I was saying to Emma, is it's a really important thing to ask yourself, am I blaming myself or am I blaming the clothes? Just going to turn the page so I make sure I've got all the tips that I share. The other thing I was saying is that understanding the function of the clothes that you have. So, for instance, there are some clothing that you still love, but it just doesn't fit your life. And then it's really about deciding on what to keep from that. So I really feel like with letting go of certain clothes. There's things that I'm thinking, I want this to mark this moment in my journey. Like I have some of my stuff from my clubbing days. I have stuff from when I first started dating my husband. And I keep a few things in my, what I call my memory box in the loft. So you don't have to get rid of your memories, especially if you're somebody that's a bit more sentimental. But they're not hanging in my wardrobe. They're not muddling up what is already there. They're very distinctive. They're something that is going to be a moment of looking back, and looking over it. I'm sure this jumper one day, will be in there too. It's something that kind of marks a moment in time. So you feel sentimental towards it, but you just got to be careful that it doesn't become too many things. The next thing I was saying, is to make sure that we're really thinking about who we're stepping into, this forward momentum. It can be one of those things that we are looking back at who we were in the past, when in actual fact, we want to really be stepping into that future self. And the future self is somebody who is finding that new definition. So if you're really struggling with what that is, then even just identifying your alarm words, which I talk about a lot, of the negative feeling words. So I don't want to feel flat. So what is that? The opposite of that for you? Is it energized? Is it clean? Is it cool? And thinking about those, it's always about working with those antonyms, the opposites. And for me, it's about impact. I really want to make sure that I'm not diluting myself, that I am communicating to people, that I'm making sure that I'm helping people make change in their lives. So visually, I also want to make sure that I am impactful. Um, but I think that when it comes to it, we've got to then be honest about what the wardrobe isn't doing for us. And having loads and loads of clothes in there is exhausting. So stop putting up with stuff. Like, stop saying it'll do if it's making you feel really bad. There are plenty of ways that we can adapt things. It's not just about always getting rid or moving on. There's a great app I've come across recently called Loom, Loom, that adjusts. You can find like a local tailor. It's different to the seam, if you know about the seam. This is more about taking old clothes and they will rework it into something new. So it's not always that we have to get rid of, but I think ultimately all of this comes back to intention. Are we stopping and thinking, is this actually helping me? And so often we don't. And that was what this lady was saying on the Style Words consultation. She's like, I've never even stopped to think what I want my wardrobe to do. It always just goes back to the practical or the function or what I think is going to be okay and acceptable. And this is actually about starting to kind of develop a stronger sense of ourselves. So, I think that if you are feeling messy, ask yourself, what is it I'm craving? And it's been interesting for me recently. I've brought in a few bolder pieces. So I've got a new fur coat that I've been wearing. Um, I've got, I've always liked to let the trousers, but these are slightly kind of more balloon shape. And I think for me, visually, I want to be even more impactful than I have been in the past. I've got a lot of my basics, a lot of my practical life sorted, and I want to have that impact. So for me, that's going to be a big focus this year. The other thing I was saying to Emma that I gave her advice on was, are you caught up in the trap of saying one day I'll wear this. Oh, I bought this because one day it will suit this occasion, or one day when I'm thin enough, or one day, etc. Now, there's nothing wrong with buying things that you are going to set you up for the year ahead, or you kind of, are calling in the next opportunities. I'm really pro that. But that kind of one day and it's been in your wardrobe for years, I think it comes down from that kind of Sunday best, saving it for Sunday best. And part of all of this, I can give so many guidelines and advice, but really it's about you knowing where you get in your way. And with everything I do with styling, it's that personal touch in the sense of like, oh, I know that this is where I'm not great. I buff up against the advice. And understanding that, when you work with a professional, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, you've got to make sure that person understands why you might self-sabotage or why you might make it a more difficult experience for yourself when you don't get the results you want. And this is also where I found that the style words really help, because it's not about my opinion versus that person's opinion. It's about the words. Are they doing the words? And if they're not, then that's our kind of guidelines. So I think really take that moment to be honest. If you're like, I want to get rid of clothes, I've tried getting rid of clothes in the past and I'm really struggling. Why is that? Then it could be the fact that you haven't got, number one, a strong enough why. Number two, a strong enough vision for what you want the space to look like. And number three, the what it might be that you just haven't got the clarity on the standards that you want the item to fulfill. So the words become the standard rather than it just fitting or it functioning in the right way. We've got to feel the words day to day. So that's an idea for you, is really to maybe book with me, get a Discover Me or a Stat Words consultation booked in. Understand this is the power of them. Knowing your words then suddenly gives you this anchor, this guideline about what to keep and what to get rid of. So if I was going through and I looked at this jumper, I know, for instance, that this jumper makes me feel cool, elegant, and impactful. It always does. It lifts my soul when the sky is dark. And having that standard for how an item makes me feel really helps. The ones that don't have all three of my words, then I really have to stop and I stop and I kind of ask myself, how can I make this work better? The other thing we talked about is really focusing on value, not labels. A big thing I see a lot in people's wardrobe is how much they keep hold of things because they're designer. This is a Chanel bag. This is a M pair of trousers. This is et cetera, et cetera. And we put a lot of value on those brands, especially if we're somebody that has maybe not been able to afford that in the past, or growing up, we weren't able to have that kind of quality. So what then happens is that we surround ourselves with this perceived value, all these brands, but in actual fact, the value for us is not there, because really valuable pieces are things that you are wanting to throw on every day, are things that are when you're stepping out into the public eye, whether that's, in a very public setting or just going down to the shops, is something that actually helps you. And it feels so counterintuitive to spend money on valuable, like on casual items, but it really does make a big difference having those pieces if you have a casual lifestyle, that is. But just be really aware of where you're putting the value on things. Are you putting the value on those designer pieces, but actually the cost per wear, you're not wearing them that much? Can you challenge yourself to then wear them? And that's a great one. If you're somebody that struggles to get rid of it, say to yourself, right, okay, well, you can keep it, but you got to wear it 3 times this week. And if you don't wear it 3 times this week, then what are you keeping it for? So I think partly what I'm trying to kind of say here, and hopefully the kind of, that this is the slight difference I bring to what I do, is that it's about going around our psychology. We all come to this with our history. And I feel like this is the thing that doesn't get talked about when it comes to dressing and styling. We're full of the shoulds that we should be able to do. You should get rid of this at this time of year. You should organize it. But so often we come to it with either a psychology that doesn't support that. Maybe we didn't have a lot as kids growing up, so therefore we want to be surrounded by lots of things. Or maybe we've worked really hard to buy those things and we carry a lot of guilt about getting rid of them. So really understanding the psychology that comes into play. Perhaps for you it was your mom saying, don't ruin that nice thing, so therefore you never wear your nice things. Questioning that psychology and saying, do I want to carry that? Do I want to move forward with that? um, the other thing we talked about is when you love clothes and you know that clothes are something that make a difference for you, is it really supporting you to boost your confidence? Do you feel like these clothes are caring for you rather than you just caring for it? And it's interesting. I wonder if there's like a link between women who are very caring and then having, wardrobes full of clothes and feeling responsible for the items, like they have to carry them. I've not thought about this before, but maybe it's something to question. Do I actually need to carry these pieces? Is it for me to be responsible for? So there's a few ideas. Anyway, it was in the paper last Sunday. When I send the email out, I'll put there's a digital link. You can see what I was up to. I'll keep you posted. I think there's going to be a few more of these, hopefully. But as we step into this year, spring coming up, it is a very powerful time to clear out and make sure that what you're holding on to is what you want to step into. If you struggle with that and you want to get clear because you're not sure about what to get rid of, and you think that, it's so often I work with people and they are getting rid of the things I'm like, no, keep that because you can do it this way, this way, this way. If you're like, actually, I want to invest and get some time in the wardrobe to really understand what's in there and how to put it all together, then let me know. I have my bite-sized sessions. So the 2.5 hour session, or the Find Your Fashion Flow, which is a 4 hour session, plus calls around them so that you're fully set up and supported. But you will come away with so much. Number one, clarity on what's in there, your own capsule. You will also have outfits created from what we've already got, and you'll have like a suggestion of what to purchase next. So that's really helpful. If you want the full transformation and you're like, Lou, just take me through it all, guide me through it all, and we have accountability calls and making sure that you're getting dressed every day and knowing how to do that, then let me know too. I have a couple of places left going into the spring. And yeah, I think that's everything I want to share. But I really would love to, if you're watching this on catch up, let me know in the comments, what do you struggle to let go of? What is it like? Do you find that you'd like to know more about where to take things? Is it like, do I just throw my knickers in the bin if they're finished? Not sure where to put, old shoes. What is it you struggle with? Is it a practical thing or is it an emotional thing? Do you find it hard to let go? Do you find it hard to know what to let go of? Do you then have you let go of things in the past and then think, I wish I had let go of that now? I definitely have some shoes from my days in my 20s, but you know what? We have to also let go of things to welcome in the new era. We cannot stay stuck and stagnant, and it's not about changing our wardrobes from top to bottom. I have many things I've had for a long time, but they do always get questioned. Are you still on my side? Are you still on my team? Because it's no point them not being on your team anymore. So I think that's it for today. Let me know what you think. I've got a little double necklace today. I thought that was quite cute. Just felt like I needed a bit more boom. And I think that when we're feeling flat, don't forget to lean into the color, into the jewelry, have fun with it, wear what you've got, enjoy your clothes, and I will see you in a month's time on my next live. All right, take care. Bye.